Hi everyone and welcome to a new video. Because of a lot of you are interested in helium mining, I thought it would be a great idea to take a look at the latest mining hype, which is the Chia Network. So in this video, I'm going to take a look at what the Chia Network is and if it's still a good idea to start mining yourself. If you like the sound of that, be sure to hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe at the end of the video. So I think about 3 weeks ago, one of you guys posted a comment and said something about Chia, and that's when I started looking and I came on the YouTube channel of Coin Breakthrough. I took a look at the video. I thought it was interesting, but right at that moment, mainnet didn't launch yet, so there wasn't any price info for Chia, so it was really hard to estimate where it was going. Right now, it seems like it's becoming a pretty good success, so a little regret that I didn't start earlier. And then last Friday, I was looking again at some YouTube videos and ended up on this video of Sloth Tech, so shout out to him as well. And that made me think, why not give it a try and make a video on it for you guys. So what the hell is the Chia Network? Well, basically they're big fans of Bitcoin, but they want to address the problems that we have with the proof of work system. So initially the idea was really great. We're going to use CPU power that isn't used by anyone, because there's a lot of unused CPU power on all the PCs that we have. So the idea was, let's just use that CPU power and build this network. Of course, we now know that all the mining is done mainly with very specific purpose machines like the ASIC miners, and it's not really accessible for anyone with just a CPU or not even with a GPU. So it is not as democratic as it was set out to be. On top of that, as Elon was friendly enough to point out again, there is of course a lot of energy consumption involved with generating bitcoins. And this is where Chia Coin comes in. So they want to keep that spirit alive, but they want to make it more efficient, less power hungry and more democratic. So when we look on page 3 of the white paper, we see that Chia has an attempt to improve on proof of work based blockchains, like for example Ethereum right now, but they're moving to proof of stake. Of course, then we have Bitcoin and a whole bunch of other algorithms. So they want to improve on these proof of work based blockchains with a new consensus algorithm we call proof of space and time. To validate transactions, proof of space leverages the over provisioned exabytes of disk space that we already have in the world. So basically they want to do exactly the same as Satoshi Nakamoto set out in his white paper for Bitcoin, but rather than using unused CPU power, they're going to try and use unused disk storage. Alright, so if you want to find out more, just read the entire white paper. If you just want to get started, well, good news, it's pretty easy. The only thing you have to do is download the mainnet client, either for Windows or macOS. Now, using Chia is super easy. You just install it, then click create a new private key. Then you write down your 12 keywords, click next. So once you're launched, it is important to give the software time to sync with the blockchain. I think in my case it took about an hour or something like that. So please give it some time to sync. So once you are synced, the next thing that you do is go to plots. As you can see, I already have 5 plots which are now farming. The next thing you do is add plot. Let's just leave everything on default to show you how easy it is. Then click browse. The best thing you do is here to take a SSD for the temporary folder and then a regular hard drive for the final directory. Then you click create plot and you're all good to go. Let's now take a look at the CPU usage. As you can see, it's going up to about 15%. And this is just to generate one plot. Now, because we have such a nice CPU in this system, we're going to try and plot in parallel. So we'll set the plot count to 10. We leave the RAM usage on default, number of buckets as well, and we put the number of threads on 12. Our CPU has 12 cores, so that's no issue at all. Again, we'll take the SSD, which is a FireCuda, as a temporary folder, and then our regular hard drive to put our final folder for our plots. There you go. As you can see, it will now start plotting 10 at a time, and our CPU usage, of course, it's skyrocketed to 92%. and this will increase as soon as everything starts plotting at the same time. Now the memory starts at about 10 gigabytes, but it will go up to about 20 gigabytes, which of course leaves us still some space or some room to optimize. Now if you take a look at our current farm, our estimated time to win with 5 plots is about 7 years. So if we would just call it quits and only have 5 plots, yeah, it would take 7 years at the current network size. Of course, as you can see, it just keeps growing every minute. So the estimated time to win will increase as well if I don't increase the number of plots. As you can see, after about 15 minutes, we have plotted 2% for all of our 10 plots, and our CPU usage is basically at 100% almost all the time, and our memory usage is about 22 gigabytes. Again, this setup is definitely not optimized. I just want to give you a good idea. There are a lot of videos out there on how to optimize your setup, so definitely take a look at it, because the faster you can plot, the better off you are. It's very important to know that generating plots takes time, and time is money, especially in this case, because the network keeps growing really fast. I think maybe at 50% per week. So keep in mind, this number is totally not a good representation, because even as we are talking now, these numbers will change. So for example, if we would have 10 plots, then we would be making at current rate, assuming that the network would stay stable, which doesn't happen, and you would be making $71. So it is very easy to calculate yourself rich with this tool. So let's just say that we were able to get 500 plots, which will probably be, there you go, 50 terabytes. We would be earning 3.6 thousand per month, which of course sounds super great. But again, this would only happen if the network space would stay stable. And we all know that it's growing exponentially. That's why you should go to the advanced tab. Of course, we don't have unlimited disk space available. I mean, buying 50 terabyte is already a lot. Then we have plotting speed a day. I've seen several people claiming that they get 40 plots a day. So we'll just use that number. Weekly network growth. It is possible that it's even bigger than this percentage, but we'll leave it at the default values. Then we have days of exponential growth. This is nobody knows. We just assume that at some point it won't be worth buying so much disk storage, or that the price of disk storage will go up so much that the growth of the network will slow down. And then we have this days of stabilization factor. But again, I would leave these numbers at default, and just keep in mind that these are just guesstimates, nothing more. So in this case, we would be making 1.7 Chia on average in 6 months. So that would be 2.5K on average in 6 months. So that's a lot less than the 3.6K that was estimated in the simplified version. So please do use the advanced calculator, because you think you'll become rich with these numbers, but this is definitely more realistic. Then you have to keep in mind that current hardware storage is pretty expensive. So if you would buy this one, you would buy 3 of them, then the cost would be 1.5K, and the rest of the system is 1.2K. Of course, the hard drives are not being used very heavily, so you can easily resell them if you don't need them anymore. When it comes to the rest of the hardware, I think the only thing you would have to throw away is the SSD. Everything else you can keep for a new system or just sell. So in that sense, it's definitely better than an ASIC miner. Now it is very important to keep in mind that these are averages. It is very possible that you are the most lucky guy in the world, and that in the first week with only 10 plots, you get selected and you earn 1 Chia. This can happen. The other thing can happen as well. You can be plotting and plotting away for a few months without getting a single Chia. So at this point in time, it is Definitely important to know that they are working on the Chia pools. So there is going to be an official pooling system, and I think it will be released still this month. So right now there are people who created their own pools, but I do think it is interesting to wait for the official Chia pooling system, because then you don't have to wait and be lucky to be drawn. You will be simply sharing the rewards with the rest of the pool, and rather than maybe getting a reward after 2 or 3 months, which can be really frustrating, you will get small portions of rewards every day. You can compare this to how NiceHash works and all the other mining pool software out there. So what is my conclusion for mining Chia? Well, first of all, it is very important to keep in mind that you have to generate plots faster than the network is growing. Otherwise, you'll be lagging behind and your chances of winning are decreasing constantly. Whether or not this is achievable, that's of course a question mark and a risk that you're going to take. So if you're planning to mine Chia very seriously, take a look at the cost. I mean, it's not cheap. You're definitely taking a risk. So do your research when it comes to this network. Make sure that you believe in the network and that you believe in the future. Now, when it comes to the network itself, if you want to do it purely out of eco-friendliness, do keep in mind the first part of the system is like proof of work. You have to generate plots as fast as you can to keep up with the network growth and to keep things interesting. You also have to keep in mind that SSDs have a life cycle. This means that after a number of writes, you have to throw away the SSD. That's also why it's very important, if you're going to invest in a system like this, be sure that you're not cheap on the SSDs. Take a look at the specs, take a look at the life cycle of the SSD, and make sure that you take one with a long life cycle. Usually the cheap ones, if you're mining Chia, maybe you'll burn through one every 2 months. So that aspect alone is not very eco-friendly if you ask me, so keep that in mind. Now, when it comes to the second portion, the farming, that's where it becomes interesting, and that's where it's definitely more efficient than, for example, mining Bitcoin, where you're constantly fighting for the block reward. So in this case, once you have your plots, you can just leave them and kind of passively join in the network, because it doesn't take that many resources to join in this lottery system. So for example, if you generated 50 plots, and you just leave on the Chia node software, then you'll still be entering the lottery system. Yes, your chances will decrease over time while the network is growing, but you're still participating in the network, and this without using many resources. So when it comes to me personally, I'm going to let this rig run for, let's say, 2 weeks. I want to see how the pool system works. Then I'll join in one of the pools and I'll see what the results are at that time. Alright, before we finish off this video, I of course still have to announce the winner of the CalChip Rack Helium Miner that I'm giving away to celebrate the 10k subscriber mark. So there are 476 entries in the Google forum. There are also a bunch of duplicates, so I threw them out. I didn't throw out the people themselves, I just threw out the duplicates to keep things fair. So that gives us 456. Then I generated a random number, which was 50. And number 50 is this guy over here. I think it's a guy. So clicking on the link, that brings us to his user page on YouTube, and that is Just Huts. So Just Huts, big congratulations to you on winning the miner. Very important. If you're seeing this video, please post a comment. Don't forget to check your email. You have 1 week time to give me all your contact information. So if I don't get the information before next Sunday, which is Sunday the 23rd, so I want to have it on Saturday. If I don't have any response from you, then I'll select a new winner. So either way, everybody, thank you for entering. Hopefully we will hit a new milestone very quickly, and then of course I'll do another giveaway to celebrate it. Alright, that's it for this video. If you would like me to do a follow-up video on Chia mining, be sure to leave a comment. If you have another cool project in mind also, please do leave a comment. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe, and if you want to stay up to date, hit that bell notification button as well. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.